Hello, and welcome to another weekly reading. Fluorite is a stone that I'm pretty sure I used last week, this big rough stone. And here are a few little tumbled ones. They're such beautiful crystals. They have all different colors that they come in, and get it to focus on the stone. And this one is a rainbow one. You can see it's got some purple in it, some different colors. This one as well. Oh, focus. Really good for brain balancing. Look at that flash of actual rainbow light through it. I love looking for rainbows in crystals. If you want to know more about that, I do have a course on Udemy. And then this is a purple fluorite, not to be confused with amethyst. But it's a really powerful stone, and it feels like it's coming up really powerfully. And in fact, I have a post coming up on that later in the week as well. I'm also sticking with some Old Faithfuls of Lavender and Clary Calm, because we are still coming off the back of what was an intense week last week with that eclipse. Not only for me, but for most people that I know, there was some intensity, in the very least, for the person individually, or some big intensity for somebody close to them. So it'll be interesting if you would like to reflect in the comments how things went for you last week, or if you found that you just sailed through, or if it felt like tidal waves. Anyway, this week we have Jupiter turning retrograde in Gemini, and we have the last quarter moon in, first quarter, moon in Capricorn. And we also have Pluto stationing direct in Capricorn for the last time. So Capricorn is a big energy for us this week. And Capricorn is an earth sign. And this card reading seriously is reflecting that. So let's take a look at the cards. Remember to pick a number between 1 and 4, and that it is not a personalized reading, but the number you pick will give you a slightly more personalized slant on it. If you are looking for personal readings, please do get in touch with me. Links will be found below. And so you pick your card between 1 and 4, and let's jump in. Okay, big picture overview. You can see we have 3 Pentacles cards and a Cups, so water and 3 Earth cards. And Earth and water appreciate each other. They're both more yin in nature. They work well together. And we have 2 upright and 2 upside down, 1 court card. So let's, being the Queen. So let's start with our Ace of Cups. Now, I feel like this is quite a powerful, it's upside down, as you can see, but I feel like it's quite a powerful representative of us consolidating that Libra eclipse, because Libra is a sign of relationships, and an Ace of Cups very much initiates a new love. I mean, it can be many things, so it's not necessarily that, but it can initiate a new love. It can also be newness in a current relationship, and ultimately, what that eclipse would have meant for us is something needed to be let go within our primary, at least one of our primary relationships. So there would have been a shift in your relational dynamic. Because this has come upside down, it's kind of saying to us, we really need to do some deep self-care and self-love this week. And I think that's a lot to do with consolidating what went on for us in the last few weeks, really, because remember that was the second of 2 eclipses. The previous one was 2 weeks prior in Pisces at the full moon, and that one was a super moon. So now we had this Libra eclipse, so we're very much in the feels of the emotional realms and the relational realms. It's been on the go for a while in an eclipsing way, which is always going to be like a lot more intense or bigger than your average lunation, being a full or new moon. And so this week we are kind of trying to just come to terms with a lot of that. And the more we love up on ourselves, and that doesn't mean that you ignore the stuff that was reflected to you. So there might also be a lot of self-evaluation with that. Was that person right when they threw some harsh criticism my way, or whatever the case may be for you? It's also about water is reflective. So it's reflecting what the other person has said or you feel based on what was reflected back to you through situations and relationships and situationships. And so when we get that truth bomb stuff, we need to deal with it. We need to feel it. We need to process it. We need to recognize where we want to take that energy. And that's very much for me what this card is saying this week. And then again, I feel like an absolute broken record. But again, I've got this hurry up and wait, because this is a wait, slow down. What are you feeling? What are you dealing with? Get self-loving and try to release self-judgment and shame, and rather see how can I lick my wounds and be constructive moving forward, or how can I give myself a pat on the back and just hide out for a little bit while I'm rebuilding my energy. Because a cup is really going to also be like a full cup. You know that saying, you can't give from an empty cup. Obviously, if it's upside down, it's emptied out, and we need, or it will empty out, and we need to figure out how to turn that around and fill that cup. And that's where we may need a little bit of extra self-care and maybe alone time, or whatever it is that nourishes you personally, that isn't about giving to another. And so that's a slow down and check in with that. And then we have these two cards in the Pentacles. I mean, we've got 3 Pentacles, but these two are a little out of order. We've got 9 followed by 7. There are 2 upright cards of the week. And the 9 of Pentacles is really celebratory. You know, you've worked hard, you've done the self-reflection, you've done the work, you've nourished the soil, you've tended to the seeds. You can think in a very earthy seed planting kind of metaphors, because it is a Pentacles card. And I've done all of that. I watered the seeds even when I was running on empty. I made sure that I pulled out the weeds, and that was hard. That was draining. I pruned when it was the right time to prune. And now I can see the fruits of my labor, and there's success, and there's harmony and harmonizing with the cycles and the seasons and the rhythms. And so she's in this good space. You can see she's dressed in that pure white gown. She's got all the elements reflected through this reading, not just the Pentacles. And that's also because 9 is near the end of a cycle. So it's at the point where it's like, well, I need all of the tools to be at the end of a journey, to have mastered something. Can't just master one element, so to speak, of my life. Okay, and that's going to be pertinent when we get to that Queen. I can't just master one element of my life. I need the balance, and the 4 elements are going to bring in that those stabilizing. Think of the number 4. It's like a building block. It brings in the stable aspect of my life, the 4 corners of the compass, and also the 4 directions, the 4 elements, the 4 God, the word I'm looking for has just gone out of my head. Seasons, that's what I'm trying to say. The 4 seasons. So basically, this 9 is a very optimistic card for us, and it's coming on the back of the upside down Ace of Cups. So it does mean that, you know, it took a bit of work, and we do need to replenish in order to fully appreciate this 9 of Pentacles. And then, of course, the 7 of Pentacles is another kind of a weight card. So we're celebrating where we've got that momentum, that celebration, that joy. And then it's like, okay, but slow down. Don't forget, just because you did all of those things doesn't mean there's still not seeds in the garden that need tending, and plants in the garden that need pruning. And I mean, that's really nice about this image. You can see he can't go anywhere. He's energizing the plant. He's in a sort of meditative place. It's not a seemingly fast place. You can't see what's happening under the soil where all those roots are developing. The plant itself looks really small, but what's going on beneath the soil is much bigger, and it's not visible. And that's kind of like also a reminder that, yes, we are seeing certain celebrations. We're seeing certain milestones reached. We're seeing the fruits of our labor on some levels, but that doesn't mean we're done. We're never done. The cycles, the seasons, the rhythms, they continue. So they are still projects underway. There are still issues to reveal in relationships and to heal in relationships. There are still, things that need pruning, and there are still things that need planting and things that need harvesting. And all of that requires us to, again, slow down. So this card, even though it is upright, it does bring us to a slowing down kind of an energy, and reminds us that there is a lot of work to be done. And then we follow that with this Queen, and she's also been quite a frequent visitor in our readings in the last while. I love this Queen. And she is the Earth Queen. She's come upside down for us, as you could see, but she is very in her higher timeline, in her highest wisdom. She is very grounded and embodied and wise and sensible and practical. She has created a very wealthy lifestyle. So that is financially, but in all things, she has abundance, she has wealth, and she's very grounded and peaceful in it. And in her upright form, there is the closed eyes looking back, like all the things I did to get to be able to be this really embodied, beautiful, calm queen on my throne. Of course, upside down, it's almost to me a little bit like she's reached a milestone, which we speak to in this card as well. And now she's ready to dream her way into the next one. So she might be overworking. Her balance might be out. And remember, we are still in Libra season, and Libra season is all about finding that balance. So the pendulum may have swung from this really stabilized version of yourself where you felt like you had it together and you knew what to expect from every day and every week and every month. But now there's that reverse option of, but I'm reforming. And anytime I do that, I have to, get out of my comfort zone. I have to start building something new that I don't know where to take it or how it will go. And yet there is still this calm dreaming for the future. It can also speak to being a little bit smothering and overbearing, because she's quite a mothery archetype. So again, because we're talking about relationships a lot and consolidating a lot of relationship stuff, look at where you are mothering and how you are mothering. And this is whether you are a mother of human children, pets, friends, wherever you mother. And again, it's also not gender specific. Men mother and nurture as well. And remember, we started this reading with talking about needing more self-nurturing. So look at where I'm over-mothering other people in my life and avoiding mothering myself, because sometimes it's easier for us to outsource that, and then even become smothering and dominating and, telling people exactly what they need to do. Remember, she's got a very practical feel to her. So she's wise. She's used to giving sage advice and saying, look, if you do this, then everything will be okay. But when she's in an upside down phase, she needs to be doing that for herself. She doesn't need to be telling everybody else how to live their life. She needs to conserve her energy. And the Queen of Pentacles is a lady with a lot of energy. But because we had this one upside down, we really do know that she needs to replenish and conserve her energy in order for her to be able to step forward into these next things. She cannot be giving away energy for free. Energy is currency. Your time, your energy, the investment that you put is important. And it's not to not invest in other people, but it feels to me, again, a theme that we've had not as loudly in the last while, but very much in the bigger picture of the last few years, is that we really need to become more and more self-autonomous. And that's not to say we don't need each other and we don't need relationships and we don't need connection. We absolutely do. But the more we can be responsible for our own energy levels, our own choices, our own what brings us joy and pleasure and what doesn't, and all of that, the more we can be responsible and accountable and sovereign and autonomous and all these words that get thrown around a lot, the more we can embody that. Remember, she's very embodied. That's where we really start to realize there's places that I can see my success and there's places that I'm still working, and that is okay. But if I don't nourish myself, if I don't fill my own cup, then all of my relationships in the world will suffer, from the smallest relationships to the biggest relationships. They will all suffer if I cannot be the most, responsible and shiny version of myself. Shiny, not without shadow. Just being able to, think of a lighthouse. It lights the way for so many people, but it casts a long shadow. And the deeper our shadow and the deeper we can go into our shadow work, the more we can reach into our light and the more we can guide people like she loves to do. Guide people, but not smother people, because each of us needs to ultimately make our own decisions and choices in this world. We can, depending on how you are, I like to hear lots of advice, but ultimately I need to make my own choices. And I can't blame anybody else for a choice I made because maybe I took your advice. That was my choice. I can get a lot of ideas, but I need to make that decision. And that's the kind of thing we really need to lean into here. And if you're somebody who doesn't like to get advice and you like to do it in a different way, that's also okay. That's where you need to lean into that. So looking at how am I working well for myself in terms of self-care and self-love and nourishing myself, and also taking responsibility for myself and figuring out how best I like to get myself informed to make practical, sensible decisions that are first and foremost the best thing for me, and then the people that I care about, and ultimately at least not to do harm. I hope this has been helpful. I hope you have a really, really good week, and I'll be back next week.